hawk, a Cooper's hawk, visited me not too long ago now, a few hours ago. It's a little after 6 o'clock p.m. and at about 2:57 p.m. the hawk visited. It hit the window or patio cover or something, and I left a feather. I went to check on it, and it flew off and, you know, bumped against the patio cover again and got out. I don't think it really liked it. It's a younger hawk, a Cooper's hawk. I'm Tanis of Seattle. I reside and am in the greater Seattle area. And the hawk was like, you read the Iliad. How about that? Work with that. In addition to, you know, coming up with a language and literature animal tie-in. It was like, how about the hawk of the Homer? So I'm Tanis of Seattle, and it's Wednesday, 29 July 2026. And I've previously covered the Iliad by Homer earlier this 2026 year. And hawks were animals in there. I don't necessarily know if it's the Cooper's hawk. It might have been Greek hawks. And whether they were, they were hawks. And I don't think it really specified the type of hawk in there for the translation I read anyway. And so I was like, okay, so let's say I get the chance to attend graduate school in Greece, and with a focus on ancient Greek texts and hawk-inspired travel. How do I travel for school of my own initiative? And in the past, I've done like a new student orientation weekend, you know, travel for a class assignment, or a field trip. And I was like, how about graduate school has a little bit of a different approach if I'm studying ancient texts and say the Iliad by Homer. Well, and so I have this atlas that I bring up a fair amount on this channel, Atlas of the World, Oxford. Maybe I'll link to something I don't really like when I found this video a number of years ago. Now, so I open it up to Greece, and then Greece spans, here's like Lower Greece, and then Upper Greece is the next page. So then Greece is at the bottom. And there's a lot of little islands, and I was like, okay, if I were in Greece, where would I want to go so that it's travel for school? So like I go someplace to kind of like fact check, but not fact check, like get a feel for something mentioned in the Iliad or the Odyssey. So if I study both now either, I was like, in the Iliad, Homer talks a lot about the gods of Greece. And I was like, and he mentions a mountain of Greece called Mount Olympus. And Mount Olympus is right here. And I was like, okay, I like that it's on a water body called, the bigger water body along this area is the Aegean Sea, which is reminds me a little bit of azurine, which I brought up azurine green as like a reference to my eye color, but also the mineral, natural material, the mineral azurine. And there might be another body of water here. However, this is the Aegean Sea. And so I was like, it would be fun to travel to Ayiá, and there's just it looks like per this atlas, there's a mountain peak. So there's Mount Olympus, and then south and maybe east of Mount Olympus, there's Ossa is a mountain peak. And I was like, it'd be fun to go to Ayiá and like possibly, you know, climb the mountain, but not necessarily, but like kind of do like a travel this area and get like views of Olympus. So to kind of get a feel for the space around Olympus, but like the view of Olympus as opposed to like being on Mount Olympus itself. Because that Mount Olympus is where the gods lived. So me as a mortal, how would I view Olympus? All right, and like, since I can't live on it because I'm not a god, what might it look like by a neighboring mountain peak? So that's kind of my travel idea, and like, maybe that snowballs to other travel. Maybe it's the only trip, and maybe it comes later or something like that. And maybe I take somebody on it because it's my own initiative. Do I have a live-in reader? You know, do I have a cat? You know, that kind of stuff. But maybe going to Ayiá. I don't know if that's how that's pronounced. It'd be a good thing about pursuing Greek language and literature. I can learn to pronounce some of this stuff. And then kind of getting a view looking north of, and like I said, be north and west of Mount Olympus. And I was like, I have a playlist on this channel, the Olympics. I was like, maybe if I did something like this, do like views of Mount Olympus or views of Olympus, especially if I end up covering like Olympus or is that kind of a theme in like as part of my curriculum or studies, and be like add context to it, not just like the literal view, but like are there textual views and historical views on Olympus as well. So there we go. That's a travel for school ruminating. Ayiá in Greece. Homer literature tie-in. Okay. So it's up here, and Athens is, for context, I'll hold this up. And so Athens is down here, and then Ayiá is up here. There we go. I'm ruminating.